Hello and welcome to this new episode. My name is Bas, and in this episode I'm gonna go deeper into the great mother archetype, the Holy Grail, and also the connection to the Anima from a Jungian lens. Well, first of all, before going into the video itself, I want to say it's kind of been a while, really, since I've really created anything. A lot of the recent videos have been pre-recorded videos, kind of dealing with some stuff, but I am slowly getting back to things in general regarding the podcast and the different episodes. So now, when we think about the great mother archetype, we might think about the nurturing, motherly, and giving aspects of nature. We might think about motherhood and children. Yet, when it comes to the great mother, there is more to this archetype than just that. The great mother embodies both the nurturing and life-bestowing aspects as well as the life-taking aspects of life. As a feminine symbol, she is intricately linked to nature, yet also is a potent symbol for the unconscious. And within this video, like I said, I want to go deeper into the Great Mother, the Holy Grail, and the Anima. Also going through the different stages of development from the bond to the mother towards the slow development of the anima as other when it comes to men. The anima being the Jungian term for the feminine qualities within, playing a crucial role as an internal guide within the unconscious mind. So in this video, I want to now first start off with the Great Mother archetype and her connection to the personal mother. The Great Mother archetype, like I said, represents the nurturing, life-giving aspects of the feminine principle, and it is often associated with the idea of the earth as a nurturing mother who provides sustenance and support to all living things. However, the Great Mother is also tied to the symbolism of death as well. Like the vessel, the grave has a maternal meaning, since the mother is not only the place of birth, but also as Mother Earth, that which receives the dead back into herself. And the primal image of the mother is suited for this dual aspect of life and death, where both the food and drink imparting life-bestowing aspect and the aspect of death and the grave are exhibited as well by the Grail. And this explains why mysteries with this process as the content of their rituals were connected with the cult of mother goddesses such as Demeter and Isis. And in Jungian psychology, the Great Mother archetype is seen as a powerful symbol of the unconscious, representing the instinctual and emotional side of human nature. And it is associated with the concept of the mother-child relationship and the idea of birth, growth, and nurturance. In the beginning, the connection to the mother archetype as child is psychologically tied to the personal mother. And as long as the child is in a state of unconscious identity with the parents, they are still one with the animal psyche and, as such, just as unconscious as it, which implies a lack of differentiation and autonomy, with the individual psyche being intertwined with that of the family unit. The archetypal figure of the Great Mother is always to be found behind the personal mother. often unnoticed, and as such permeates the individual human with a far larger archetypal image. And for individuals who have faced significant adversity in childhood, the real world may have forced them to grow up quickly and develop survival skills at an early age. And this can result in a premature and sometimes forced confrontation with the harsh realities of life, leaving less room for the exploration of the archetypal world's wonders. But generally, when it comes to the mother and child, there's first the bonding with the mother and later separation from the mother, where the first one we do moderately well and the second not well at all when it comes to modernity. Secondly, there's the bonding with the father and the separation from the father. And in our modern age, this process rarely happens. And an interesting thing to note here is to be fatherless also appears to some extent to be one of the attributes of the mythological hero, as may be observed in many myths and fairy tales. However, this can create also a pull into fantasy and the archetypal world in a manner akin to a drowning fascination, which keeps the child in a state of unconsciousness, and this can even remain well into adulthood as well. And as such, the true development of consciousness then inevitably leads not only to separation from the mother, but to separation from the parents and the whole family circle. And this separation is not only physical, but also psychological, marking the beginning of individualization. And the next step regarding this in the process of becoming conscious consists in learning to differentiate between the outer, so-called real world, with its real people and solid objects, and the primordial world of the archetypes into which man is born, where the archetypal world exercises an uncanny fascination, having a numinous effect. And in that sense, it's a world full of wonders. We're not only, containing terrible mothers and other monstrosities, but it's also like the Celtic land of the living, an abode of bliss. Then, thirdly, we have the arrival of the male mother or mentor figure, who helps a man rebuild the bridge to his own greatness or essence. King Arthur being such an example of a male mother. And this step happens haphazardly, if at all. Where, fourthly, there is the apprenticeship to a hurricane energy such as the wild man, the warrior, Dionysus, or Apollo. And this would be linked to the choreos and the overcoming of the parental complexes next to integrating the shadow, meaning the personal shadow. Where when he has done well, the young man receives a drink from the waters of the god. And such a drink is one of the things young men are, in a symbolic manner, asking for. Where finally, in the fifth sense, the symbolic marriage with the sovereignty goddess is a next step. And often this is symbolized by the hero's gamos, the coming together of man and woman in this symbolic manner. And to tie this now into the Holy Grail, and with that also to the Arthurian myths as well. Well, when it comes to Arthurian myth, Percival would be a very good example of a figure that sheds more light onto the path away from the Great Mother towards the Holy Grail, next to the apprenticeship needed to get towards the state of wholeness, to receive the drink from the waters of the god. And within the myth, riding along at random, Percival comes to a deep river, and he supposes that his mother's house must be somewhere on the far bank, but there is no crossing visible, and the road he's on leads no further. And as if in answer to a prayer that God enable him to find what he is seeking, he sees a fisherman who shows him the way to the Grail Castle. And he does not find his mother there, but he does come to that other world which corresponds to the mother, that land which can only be come upon unaware, as Wolfram puts it. And that's very much a realm of dreams and visions, so the unconscious. And this then itself ties into the Maimed King archetype video that I have up on Patreon, which goes into the wounding of the masculine and with it the Holy Grail being lost to the Grail King. And within the story, the role regarding the Holy Grail belongs to the Anima, which is indicated, among other things, by the fact that the perception or seeing of inner images requires an attitude of feminine receptivity, whereas the ability to grasp and understand what has been seen is made possible by the masculine mind. Now, when it comes to the Holy Grail, this is a central and mysterious concept in Arthurian legend, which was first introduced by Christina de Troyes in the 12th century. And it is often thought of as a cup, a Christian symbol of the Last Supper of Christ, given by Pilate to Joseph of Arimathea, who later filled it with Christ's blood. And this connection to the body of Christ was established by Robert de Boron in his romance Joseph the Arimathea. But it existed before the character of Joseph of Arimathea was introduced. And the Holy Grail's origin may be in the French text Conte del Graal by Christina de Troyes, who first introduced the Holy Grail as a vessel containing the body of Christ. However, there is some evidence that it may have originated as a misinterpreting of the old French word liqueur, which could also mean a horn, referring to a magical vessel in Welsh and Irish mythology, such as the Horn of Bran or the Cauldron of Rhydderch. And due to the importance of the goddess of sovereignty for the Celtic people, it has been suggested by some scholars, one of whom is also Roger Sherman Loomis, that the goddess of sovereignty could have served as an inspiration for the bearer of the Grail in the Arthurian legend. As such, the Grail can also be connected to one of the magic talismans brought by the Tuatha Danann to Ireland, particularly the Cauldron of the Dagda, which could provide food and drink to any who asked for it. The cauldron being an important symbol in Celtic mythology and appears thus in various stories, such as the Cauldron of Wisdom in the history of Taliesin and the Cauldron of Bendigeidfran or Bran, which could return life to the dead. And really, such a object was really seen as something special that can satisfy many but cannot be owned by everyone, similar to the magic cauldron in Celtic myths. Now regarding the Cauldron of the Dagda, Well, this cauldron was said to be a source of endless food and inspiration, and was a symbol of the abundance and prosperity that the Tuatha Danann brought to the land. And in the Celtic tradition, the cauldron gives food only to those who are worthy of it. And as such, the quest for the Holy Grail can be seen not only from a Christian perspective as a quest for a holy vessel, but also as a quest for humanity to restore peace and beauty in the world. This having roots in Celtic society, where the Celts believed in the unity of king and land, where when a king was wounded, this unity was seen as disturbed, and he had to be replaced by a new king to ensure the prosperity of the land. Where the Horn of Plenty in other traditions is also linked to the Earth Mother and often associated with vegetation deities. Think for instance the Green Man, which is often seen as the son of the Earth Mother. And really, the Horn of Plenty is a symbol of fertility, life, and abundance, connected to nature. Hence also the link between king and land and thus nature. And in the end, really, the quest of Arthur's knights is very much our own quest for wholeness. There's also a link to the Jungian concept of the Anima with this as well. The concept of the quest for the Grail is then also closely linked to the idea of individuation, which is the process of integrating the unconscious and conscious aspects of the psyche, where the Grail represents the ultimate goal of individuation, and the quest to find it represents the journey towards self-discovery and integration. And I had earlier mentioned the Anima being linked to this as well. Well, that's because the Anima plays an important role when it comes to this quest for wholeness. And the development of the Anima into the quote-unquote mystical twin figure common to many Anima dreams and stories, much like in the Arthurian myth regarding Percival, depends on the dignity of the male ego. So really its ability to relate to, love, and long for the Anima. And this desire, which is essentially a projection, a transfer, is what shapes the Anima figure, where the male ego projects its hidden and in some way better self onto it, and the shape of the Anima is derived from this projection or reflection. And first, a man's Anima is unconsciously tied to his mother, and this is called the projection stage, which is characterized by a dependency on women for emotional well-being, with the Anima merged with one's personal mother, where the second stage is called the attraction stage, which introduces intense attraction and desire directed towards a particular woman, where individuals project their idealized qualities onto this woman, perceiving her as the embodiment of their deepest desires and aspirations, where the internalization stage signifies a shift from external projection to a more internalized and personal connection with the feminine, becoming aware of Anima projection and possession, also being a common thing during this stage as well. And when it comes to the projection stage and the attraction stage, there are some factors that can be at play here as well. Often, for a man in this modern age, his Anima tends to become split due to a negative mother complex. And the negative mother complex with her dark wizard Animus is what initially needs to be overcome. And this for a man being the dark masculine, split off from consciousness, which keeps him from being connected to the instinctual realms. Symbolically, this is the breaking of the sword of the masculine, where often this also results in a split of the Anima into a figure that becomes idealized, seen as just and tied to love, where the other figure is often tied to sexuality, vitality, and things seen as taboo. However, if trauma is involved regarding the negative mother complex, this can, however, also become a split more tied to the nature of the trauma. For instance, one older Anima figure could be a strong, idealized figure that protects the wounded ego. And this often occurs in dreams where this feminine figure holds off monsters or other shadow-related figures, where the dreamer becomes more passive. Often the other split of figure being either a ghost, dead, or otherwise traumatized, or a younger, helpless Anima figure, where there generally tends to be a drowning fascination for the idealized figure, either projected onto real-life women or otherwise projected onto something in some form. And at first, there's often a reluctance to want to put one's attention towards the wounded split-off aspect of the Anima. And this itself is both the feminine wound within men and at the same time ties to the wounding of the divine feminine as well. And due to this, most men are unconscious of the inner feminine qualities and stuck with the first or second stage of Anima development. Working through this split and the connected wounding is what slowly allows one to heal and pull back projections, both caused by the idealized and wounded aspect, which also at the same time can be tied to a split between love and sexuality. And within this process of healing, this split, the Anima often plays an important role within dreams. It is then when a man works through this fragmentation of his Anima that he slowly works towards realizing the Anima as an inner, healed aspect within himself. And then as one progresses, the Anima takes on the role of a bringer of wisdom and intuitive insight in the wisdom stage, where individuals here then develop a more conscious and balanced relationship with the feminine, integrating intuition and creativity into their personality, where the final stage is the integration stage, where the Anima serves as a mediator between the conscious and unconscious realms, offering a psychological space for individuals to confront and assimilate the shadow elements within. And generally, during this stage, the individual's attention is focused on the integration of their inner and outer selves and the harmonization of opposing forces within themselves. The focus then also often being on developing a deeper understanding of the self and the world and finding ways to integrate spiritual principles into daily life. And in this process, the Anima then also further plays a significant role. And through this, the Anima, representing the feminine aspect of the psyche in man, undergoes a transformation as it merges with consciousness. And this union leads to the integration and balance of both feminine and masculine qualities within the individual. The Anima thus moves from being an unconscious, autonomous figure to becoming an inner guide and mediator between the conscious and unconscious aspects of the individual psyche. The Anima, now integrated and aligned with the conscious self, then provides a source of creativity, intuition, and wisdom, and serves as a bridge to the deeper aspects of the unconscious and helps in the process of self-discovery and transformation. And as the Anima becomes integrated, it also contributes to a more holistic and harmonious personality, allowing for a greater capacity for empathy, emotional depth, and a balanced expression of both masculine and feminine qualities. And it is within this stage of development that the Anima, symbolized by the Holy Grail in Arthurian myth, returns to the Grail King. And this is what in a more ancient Celtic sense is connected to the marriage between the sacred king and the sovereignty goddess. And this sovereignty goddess representing the feminine in its wholeness, the instinctual, intuitive, creative, emotional, rational, and spiritual aspects of life combined within. The merging of masculine and feminine, light and dark, consciousness and unconscious, life and death. And this is in itself the final goal of the great mysteries of the ancient pagans, which is the original goal of the Grail quest, the bringing down of the spiritual into the world, the spirit into the body, leading to the embodiment of spirit in flesh. And now, in closing, before finally ending this particular episode about the Anima, the Holy Grail, and the Great Mother that we went into, I'd like to take a moment to honor Christina Bevan, who was born in the late Victorian era. And while she may not be widely known, Christina was the daughter of the esteemed philosopher Edwin Bevan. And although little is known about her life, Christina Bevan holds a special place for me. And by including her image in this video, I hope to pay tribute not only to her, but also all women whose contributions and wisdom have been lost to time. And with that said, I want to thank all of you for watching this video, and maybe see you all next time. Okay, bye-bye.
Φύσης κεράτα θα βρεις, όπλαστε εδώ και νηπείς, οδοκίν λαγωείς, λέους χασμόδοντον. Της ήχθησιν των νύχτων, της ορνεής πετάστε, της άνδρας